since they wanted to do a panel on how to break into comics. Who's really interested in getting into comic books? Wow, just that few. Okay, who wants to be in manga?
All right, and the rest of you now. And the rest of you, what are you here for? The heck of it? To sit down? That works too.
All right, so for you guys that want to be into comic books, who knows the difference between being an artist and being a professional artist? And this goes for writing as well. Yeah, that's what I thought.
Getting paid?
Oh no.
That's what gives you the professional part.
Yeah, that'll give you the title.
It doesn't mean you're making a living at it. It means somebody paid you at some time.
And for comic books and really just with anything in general for the art side. This goes for graphic design, video game design, airbrushing models for magazines. Yeah, I do have buddies that do that in New York for a job. You're going to be required to go do a whole bunch of crap that you don't want to do. You're going to be able to, or have to be able to draw just about anything and everything that you don't want to do. All the crap that you think or that you hate doing. More than likely, there's going to be an editor come up to you and say, I need you to do this. It's going to suck. My big thing, I hated drawing cars. I've never been great at drawing cars. I am probably the most tracing, happy guy for a car. Awesome. And a lot of people say, oh God, that's not right. You're tracing? But when you got an editor that says you have something to be done by a specific amount of time, I need you to draw this brand new Camaro model by tomorrow. And it needs to be great. Well, you know in the back of your head, A, I suck at drawing cars. B, I hate drawing cars. C, my mortgage is due. What do you do?
Draw the car.
You draw the car, or you find a way to draw the car. You know, there's a lot. I've seen people get mad at one of the artists from comics, Greg Land, that did all the tracing of stuff like that. And a lot of people jumped on it. They're like, "Oh man, you're tracing. That's not right." He's getting paid, and he's paying his mortgage because he's tracing. Does he trace every time? Nope. Guy's a wonderful artist. I've seen some of his work. But when it comes down to it, being a professional artist means getting the job done. Now, there's always stuff that you want to do, that you can do, that you can throw your heart into. Somebody wakes up in the morning, I want to draw a rose. And you draw this wonderful rose. You pull out the acrylic paints, you give it the right volume, you're creating this beautiful composition, and it's everything that you wanted to do. Where does it go? It goes in your portfolio. What does that do for you? Damn. And it's seriously, you've put your heart and a piece of you on paper, on canvas, using tools. You've pulled a piece of your soul, put it into that object, and laid it out for everyone to see. That's being an artist. You know, you're trying to strum an emotional tune on someone to make someone say, wow.
Boy, you just went to a weird place, didn't you?
I'm special.
No, he's right. He's right. Something also that those of you that said you wanted to get into comics, right? A couple of you, or manga. It makes
No, just that one right there.
Just that one. Just that one. It makes no difference what your preferred method is, or I'm sorry, what your preferred goal ultimately is. And this goes for anything. I mean, we do art, so we're speaking primarily about art. They always tell you basically two things. If you believe in it enough and you work hard, you can accomplish anything, right? You've heard that a million times from 5,000 different movies, I'm sure, right? And that's true. It's true. They always tell you about that. But the part that they focus on is believe in yourself. Believe in yourself, right? They're always telling you that, and that's very important. The part that everybody kind of says, yeah, I got the idea, is the working hard part, because you guys, and I'm just as guilty of this. And that's why it's taken me a lot longer to get to where I am than it should have, because I kind of rested on my laurels. Yeah, I can paint. Okay, yeah, I can draw. Good. Now I'm going to go down to San Diego Comic Con. I'm going to go talk to the industry professionals. I'm going to show my stuff, and I'm going to get jobs all over the place because I can draw. It doesn't work that way, because everybody believes in themselves, but only some are willing to work hard for it. And I got lazy, and I said, yeah, I'm good enough, and I'm just going to take what I have. Well, compared to some of the other people taking their stuff down there, my stuff was very average. So consequently, I came back from San Diego with nothing. So the point I'm trying to make is the working hard part is probably more important than the believing in yourself part. It really is, because you have to just put in countless hours and hours and hours of drawing the boring stuff, drawing the stuff you hate. I cannot stand drawing buildings. They bore the life out of me. You know, if I have to put a building in a picture, I try to frame it so that the person is in as much of the way of the building as humanly possible, so you can barely see anything behind it. But it's just as important, that building is just as important as the person in front, and that's the working hard part, especially for things that you hate. So, manga, comics, whatever, you can take your best pieces, but if it doesn't show a variety of stuff to editors, then they don't really care, because there's 1,000,001 people out there that can draw anatomy really well. So you draw Superman in a great pose, and you draw Spider-Man in a great pose, or Spider-Woman. No, that's not that. Sorry, Spider-Woman.
Go to Spider-Woman.
You draw whatever character in a great pose, and they'll look at it and go, well, that's real good. We've seen 1,001 artists who draw anatomy. We need to see somebody that can do buildings and cars and everything else.
Yes.
It might get you in the door. It might. I know Michael Turner, before he passed, when he first started, he could draw really good characters. He couldn't draw backgrounds worth a damn. Even Mark Silvestri has talked about how all of his buildings look like bread boxes in the back. I'm serious. And he didn't get a job being the main guy in the book until he could draw them. They wouldn't allow him. They let him do some backup stuff. You know, here, go finish this. Go finish this page. Couldn't draw a building? All right, sorry. You can't be in the book. And he's making a very good point about hard work. Comic books, a lot of people say, I make this mistake because I don't do this full time. You go to a convention and you talk to people and you say, my real job. Well, my real job is the job that pays my mortgage, pays my car note, feeds my children, keeps my wife off my ass. Comics, whole different story. Now, for those that are doing comics full time, meaning the sustenance that you're putting in your mouth comes from comic book work, how much work do you guys think that is?
A lot.
What do you mean by a lot?
Hard work?
Give me some hours. On an hour, on a typical day, how many hours do you think they put in?
5.
24 would be nice. I'd love to, oh boy. I'd love to.
Anywhere between 12 and 17 hours a day.
But your pictures look awesome.
But that's why they look so awesome.
Oh, wait. See, we know them. If you don't know. And not that she falls into this category, but those of you, once again, that really want to do this for real, that really want to take your shot at some point, and anime, pause. It's the same. Your family and your friends are actually your worst enemies.
Yes.
Because how many of you have family and friends that see your stuff and go, oh my God, you do this so good. Oh my God, you should be doing this. You should send this to Marvel. You should send this to DC. Every single thing you draw,
Well, you should be making $1 million.
you should be. They love it. Your family and friends love it. And that's your family and your friends. That's their job. They love you and they don't want to hurt your feelings. You have to develop a thick skin, because what you need to do is you need to go to other artists that you know or respect or that have accomplished things you haven't. You need to show it to them. And when they rip your stuff apart, they're doing it for a reason. I mean, there's some mean people out there who just want to tear you
Get
down.
off on it.
But as accomplished as I am, I'm far from as accomplished as I want to be.
More than me.
I have a friend, and he's a professional artist. He's been making a living at it for years. And I take my stuff to him every year in San Diego. And every year he takes my portfolio and he rips it to shreds. He shows me every single thing that I did wrong and how wrong it is, what I should have done instead, what he would have done better. I mean, he basically, by the end of the session, I'm feeling like I don't even want to sell my stuff anymore because I'm embarrassed of it. But it's good for me because that's the only reason I've ever grown. That's how I grow. He tears my stuff to shreds. He tells me how bad it is. He'll tell me that if I did something good and he loves it, but he'll also tell me, this would never get done at Marvel or GC. They would never take this. They wouldn't even look at this because this is X, Y, and Z wrong. You did ABC right, all this other stuff wrong. You need to change that. So you really need to develop a thick skin, and you really need to get your stuff out there. The main thing that I learned was you can sit there and be the best artist in the world at your house, but if nobody ever sees it, who cares? You have to get out there and you have to expose yourself, and it's really kind of scary because it hits a raw nerve because you're exposing yourself. I mean, those of you that like to draw and like to I mean, that's a part of you, right? Don't you feel possessive of your drawings sometimes? I mean, it's an extension of you. It's how you feel, right? Certain moods you draw, certain things come out differently, right? You're in a bad mood, you draw certain things. You're in a good mood. So it really is an extension of you. It's a piece of you. And you're showing it to people that are basically strangers. And when they start ripping your stuff apart, it hits a nerve. You're like, what do they know? Well, yeah, they're just a professional. That's what they know. And that's what you have to remember, is that they'll tear your stuff down, but you're supposed to come back. Remember, I mean, it's that old adage about, you know, you can get knocked down, 7 times as long as you get up 8 or whatever.
And get used to the ground.
I said, you really have to develop a thick skin. And the other thing I've learned from going out to San Diego every year is that art, well, illustration, comics. You might need to step out for that. It's all subjective. It really is all subjective. The only real correct style is the one that comes out of you, as long as you put in the hard work to learn the rules, because there are rules to drawing. Everybody know who Simon Bisley is? Simon Bisley, he's an artist from the UK. He draws, he's done a lot of paintings for heavy metal, and he's done some covers for Marvel. His characters have this real exaggerated anatomy. It's really terrible looking. Every single muscle is flexing at the same time, which is basically physiologically impossible. You know, if you're leaning on your arm and your tricep is tense, your bicep is not. But
unless you've been tasered.
That's different. And so he draws it where every muscle's rippling, every vein is popping. It's physiologically wrong. But somewhere along the line, he took it to some, he's extremely successful. I mean, he made his living doing comics for the past 20 years. Somewhere, he took it to some editor, and I'm sure there was a time when he took it when he was young and barely started out that said, oh, your anatomy's all screwed up, you did this wrong, this muscle shouldn't be tense, this is bad, this is horrible anatomy, they look like they're all lumpy, I don't like it. And then he probably just kept taking it and kept taking it and kept taking it and refining his work and refining his work and working on it until he finally met some random art director who said, oh, this is awesome, it's exaggerated, I mean, it's not realistic, but this is what I want. It's all subjective. And as I say, the only style that's correct is the one that comes out of you, as long as you put in the training to learn the rules, because there's rules to drawing. And those of you that have taken classes in school, like art classes, basic design classes, that are the worst pieces of garbage ever, and you hate them, and they're so boring. Oh my God, I want to draw a little ball and learn how to shade it, because I want to draw superheroes. Let me tell you right now, take those classes for everything they're worth.
Actually, take it as many times as possible. Because even now, I still go back, and I still do, say if you're drawing a shoulder, I'm going to draw a circle, and then I'm going to draw a cylinder, and then I'm going to draw a cone, and then I'm going to draw a
lessons that you learned in that class are universal, and they apply to every single thing you're ever going to draw for the rest of your life.
As long as you can break something down into a basic shape, you can draw it.
I remember I was in high school taking art class, and it bored the life out of me, because I was going to draw superheroes. I don't want to draw, those of you, anybody taking an art class? Art class? What's the first thing they make you do? That stupid little gradient scale, right? Where it's white, a little darker, a little darker, a little darker. Oh my God, it's so boring, this is dumb. You don't even do it, and then the night before it's due, you suddenly just get a piece of paper and you go like, there we go, and then you're dividing the sections. There, I know what an A now. All those lessons are so much more important than you think. And I regret blowing it all off, because when I got to college, suddenly I had to take a basic drawing class, and suddenly I was paying for the classes I could have got for free in high school.
And then it's amazing because you think you know how to draw. You bypass all that crap in high school. You're like, I don't need to do that. I can draw Superman. Why in the hell do I need to draw a cube? Or then connect it to a cylinder, connect it to a sphere. And then why I gotta shame it? I can draw Superman, I can draw Hulk anytime I want. I can just sit there and draw Hulk. You move on, and you get to, say, college, go to art school. Like I went to art school for about a year. First class, we were like, well, draw me a cube, draw me a cylinder, draw me a sphere. What the hell? I can draw Hulk. I can draw Superman. And then when the teacher says, no, you will draw a cube, you will draw a cylinder, and then you will draw a sphere. And you connect those all together. Make that an art. I don't know how to draw Hulk. I can draw Superman. No, I want you to draw this cube, draw this cylinder, draw this sphere, and turn it into an art. I don't know how to do that. And then, now you're screwed. Because you went ahead and jumped ahead of the fundamentals that you're going to need. But you can draw a really cool Hulk and a really good Superman. Well, say a comic editor says, you know, you draw a really badass Hulk and a really badass Superman. How about a job? You know, we'll start you off simple. Here's 10 pages. It's due in 3 days. There's no Hulk. There's no Superman.
It's two people standing in a room talking.
Yes. In the living room. So, I don't know how to draw television.
On a lap.
Oh, well, you've got to learn how to draw that cube, and that cylinder, and that sphere, which are all the basic shapes that you need, and make them work in perspective to create a complementary composition. How to be able to do it. And I went through it. Hell, I'm still like that now, because I bypassed a lot of the fundamentals. And then I have to work at which it comes easy. So I don't know. So who wants to be an artist now? Just wondering. I just want to see how many I lost by now. All right. So who wants? Well, she Megan's not really considered an artist. So who wants to be an artist to get rich? Well, we already knew you're foolish. Who knows the average salary of, or let's say a page rate for a beginner penciler or inker at Marvel?
Hourly rates?
No, it's
Page
paid.
rate.
It's per page.
Okay.
Paid by page.
Yeah, just give me a guess.
$20.
It's a good gift.
Oh God, I hope not. That's not good.
Hey.
Let's see, the last pages I did, let's see, the last contract with Marvel was $75 a page. Sounds good, don't it? Who does that sound good to? Are you living at home? That's why. $75 a page. Let's say you draw, what, 20 pages a month. How much is that? Who's the manager?
$1,500.
I already know. You.
I teach math.
$1,500 a month. As if you do 20 pages, which is, 20, 22 pages per month for a single book. Anyone think they could live off that? You live at home?
Where do you live?
No, do you think can you realistically live off that?
In Las Cruces, yes.
Can you live
I
off
can, yes.
All right.
You're right. You're totally right.
Yeah.
Just what you're trying to make is you're not going to get rich doing this.
Yeah, no.
Can you make a living?
No, I mean, yeah, you can live off of it, like, by.
But that's no
and have
health.
the money left over.
That's no health care.
Yeah.
That's before taxes. No, because I grew up during the Image days, where artists were coming from Marvel to Image and making millions of dollars. Remember when Rob Liefeld first did his first Youngblood book?
No
He said, well, yeah, there was no feet in the book. Everybody worked on songs. No, and he said from the first royalty check, he bought a Dodge Viper. I'm in high school at this time. I'm like, oh, I could draw as good as he can. I draw better.
Then all that.
I'm not going
You
to.
can draw better.
So, in my mind, in the high school mind of an 18, 17-year-old kid was, I can get rich doing this just like him. Amazingly, it didn't happen. I don't understand. So, you saw these guys coming from Marvel, making, I think Jim Lee's page rate at Marvel when he was doing X-Men was $175 per page. Granted, he has some incentive bonus with royalties. He was the top dog. He was the top guy in the industry. You see how much money he made. $175 a page. David Finch makes anywhere between $300 and $500 a page right now. He's one of the top guys right now. Mark Teixeira, if he does fully painted acrylic pages, which he said it takes him about 2 to 3 days to do, working about 12 hours a day, he gets paid anywhere between $1,200 and $1,500 a page. Which is a lot. It'd be nice. How much work is he doing? So, our key thing is here. Go back to your fundamentals. Don't worry about money. Don't. Especially if you guys, ones that live at home, oh man, I wish I was in your shoes. If you ever go back home.
I'll tell you.
Sure, you pay for it. To go back home, not have the responsibilities that I have now. Look at the fundamentals, the cubes, the rectangles, the spheres, the cylinders. Look at everything around you. A person, a dog, a wall, a house, a building, a cloud. What basic shape does that make? Makes that? Television, it's a rectangle, and it's a skinny rectangle, so you draw that. Just keep doing that. You will be amazed if you just keep hammering at that, how much better you'll get. Then you start incorporating it into the human form. This arm, this muscle, this leg, this torso, what shapes make those up? Because once you can draw those shapes, because everybody can draw a cube. Can't you, Manga? You can draw a cube, right? All right. So if you can draw a cube, which just about everybody can draw a circle. Just about everybody can. You kind of learn this in kindergarten. Granted, there's some differences, and some people might be a little bit of an oval and a bit of a circle. As long as you can draw those basics, you can draw anything. You can draw anything, as long as you learn how to connect them. It becomes a puzzle. And once you get good at connecting them, then you can put them in three-dimensional spaces. Instead of just a guy standing there, you put him in a room filled with objects that are made up from small, individual shapes. Once you get that, you can draw scenes. Now you have full compositions instead of just a guy standing there. So the main thing is, don't think you're going to get rich. The chances are you're not. It's like the NBA guys, or the guys coming out of college think they're going to go to the NFL, go to the NBA, and 90% of them don't. More than likely, you won't. Because a lot of us don't take enough time to put into it. Don't think you're going to get rich. Pay very close attention to the fundamentals. And if you want to draw comics, then draw comics. Open up a comic and draw a comic. A lot of people will say, well, you need to learn to draw from life. Almost nothing from comics is from life. It's an exaggerated art form. So if you don't know how the exaggerated art form works, no one's going to pay attention to you in art, in the comic book realm. Now, if you just want to be a general artist, yeah, pay attention to life. But for comics, study them. Understand what it takes to do a transition from a talking head to an action shot. Understand the 180 rule. Who knows the 180 rule? You know the 180 rule? Oh, she was like, oh, I know it. The 180 rule is you don't draw one character facing one direction, and in the next panel, don't show him the other direction. It breaks storytelling. Simple things like that. These are the things you have to study. You can't just look at a comic book and say, well, okay, I know what to do. No, you need to understand these things. Why did he go from a bird's eye view to a worm's eye view? Who knows what a bird's eye view is? Worm's eye view. Come on, manga, they do that all the time. But seriously, These are the things you need to know. Because a lot of times, right, or give you a bird's eye view or a worm's eye view, you're like, oh. And the first person, I've seen guys actually draw a worm. I've seen it. Give me a worm's eye view. It was in like one of the practice scripts. It was like draw a worm's eye view and they drew a worm. Gotta understand the lingo.
And going to the fundamentals, like I said, you really have to just put yourself out there. You have to. It's scary, and it like I said, you can end up in tears because people are really hard.
I have.
But I mean, it's kind of degrading sometimes.
It
You
is.
feel really bad about everything that you're doing. You think you're doing it all wrong. But you guys have all seen American Idol, right? Right? And I know that 90% is staged or whatever. But the people that sing really terribly, that get on there and delusional, really believe they can sing. You know who those people are? They're the ones who believed only their friends and family who told them, "You're wonderful. You only want American Idol." It's the same concept. You have to just take your stuff to strangers. I said, don't take it from some random stranger who doesn't know anything. But if you know an artist, and one of the best places to meet artists is at conventions. Network. Just say, hey, you draw, would you look at my stuff? Tell me what you think. Within the past 6 months, I've had 3 local artists. I'm from El Paso. I've had 3 local artists tell me, hey, critique me. I want you to critique me. And I'll say, well, do you want me to just look at your stuff, or do you want me to really critique you? Because you might not like what I say. And all 3 of them, no. Tear me a new one. I want to get better. So I would tell them, you're doing this great. And of course, it's all subjective again. It's all opinions. It's just what I see based on my experiences. If you're doing this good, you're doing this wrong. You should do this. All 3 of those artists, I haven't heard from them since. So, talking about thick skin, it's like, okay, did I offend them? Did I make them mad? They told me to critique them. And then, now they don't come back, they don't want to show me anymore. And that's what you have to do. You have to be willing to take that critique.
And come back.
And come back. Like I said, every year I go down, it just happened again just this past summer. Some of my best pieces, I took them to my friend, I could say my mentor. He again told me everything I did wrong. And some of it is like, no doubt, sometimes you can't see the forest for the trees. And you're sitting there going, that was stupid, why did I do that? I have no idea what I was thinking at that time. And other things, it's subjective. Everything is subjective. It's a lot of timing. But the timing comes with being prepared and learning fundamentals. And if you learn the fundamentals, you're prepared. Eventually, you're going to meet that person that likes your style, that wants your stuff. Like I've been talking about Simon Bisley. I know a lot of art directors that if I drew a perfect Simon Bisley piece and took it to them, if they were never familiar with him, they would say, your anatomy is horrible. And yet he's making millions. Well, not millions, but he's making lots and lots of millions. He's probably making millions doing it. It just takes that one guy to see your stuff, the right person. And like I said, if it's fundamentally correct, like Ben was talking about, fundamentally correct, you put your heart into it, and you put the work into it, it's the right style, okay? Because a lot of us, we get stuck trying to mimic somebody else's style, right? We all have our idols, and that's what we gravitate towards. I mean, I learned how to draw comic book art by, like Ben said, I got a comic book, Ivan, what's his name? Reese?
Yes,
Reese. Ivan Reese. Green Lantern, Blackest Night. And I literally just drew picture by picture to reproduce the page, to learn how to draw comics. And that's where I learned how much boring stuff really goes into a comic. I mean, you guys ever really flip through a comic? You've got this great action shot of Green Lantern, coming at you and all this explosion. And then the next 5 pages are people's heads, people's faces, standing around, a picture of a screen and stars, and somebody pointing, just the finger pointing. It's boring. It's boring stuff, but once you learn all those fundamentals, you feel good about it because you've accomplished it, you've got those pages done. And that all comes from fundamentals like we're talking about. But the most important thing is you have to get your stuff out there. You have to show it to people. And you have to show it to people that are probably going to say some pretty mean things about it. And you just have to develop that thick skin and say, okay, he didn't like this, you know what? I'm going to show him next time. I'm going to go and work on what he said, and I'm going to bring it back, and it's going to be better next time. And that's the main thing. I've learned that for a long time, up until about last year, every single job I had, every single job I ever got, came directly from going down to San Diego and exposing myself. Well, I'm actually kidding. That's it. Every Every single job I got was from going down to San Diego and showing my stuff. Every single, I didn't get a job in San Diego, like I told you that time, it was not good stuff. But eventually, it all came around. People started seeing my stuff, networking, somebody knows somebody who needs something, and pretty soon I was getting jobs doing t-shirts for Metallica, and Iron Maiden, and doing Marvel sketch cards, and doing all these other things that I don't do, doing Dungeons and Dragons. I grew up loving Dungeons and Dragons, so when I was able to do something for Wizards of the Coast, it was like, geeking out, right? Being a total geek there for a while. But it all came from not sitting at home with these great art pieces and feeling all accomplished. It was simply getting them out and saying, what do you think? You hate it? Ouch, that hurt. You know what? I'll fix it and I'm going to bring it back. You got to do it.
I think that's all it is. Anybody have any questions? We probably scared the hell out of some of you. And some of you are probably like, oh, this guy sucks.
Yeah.
Is it possible to make money off of rather than trying to get good enough where you can make comic books, but instead just making independent art yourself?
Is there a way, or you said is there a possibility?
Is there a possibility of doing
There's
that?
always a possibility. The probability behind it is very low.
You
Because
can do the con circuit. You just do conventions and you sell your stuff there. There's a couple of guys I see. I go to San Diego every year. I go down there and sell my stuff and try to make these connections. And there's a guy that's been going there as long as I have. I don't know his name. You wouldn't know his name if I said it. I have no clue what his name is. But he's making a living going down there and just selling his own stuff. He's no name. He's not, one of these big names in the industry, but he's making it work for him.
and with that, it's going to come down to what you're willing to do. Now, if you're willing to travel the country, hit every convention, have prints and work done for every convention, set up every convention, have a limited time at home just so you can make a living. If it's worth it for you, go for it. I mean, I'm not going to hate on you. I wouldn't do it. I mean, I have a family. I have people that want to be at home. Now, if you just want to be off the cuff, out of the blue, want to make money off of art, you can. There's plenty of freelance work out there.
And it's a little easier now than it was maybe 20 years ago. 20 years ago, you had to live in Los Angeles, New York, or Chicago, or else you weren't getting the work. With the internet, with FTP servers, Dropbox links, email, you can live anywhere. You've got to get your name out once again. You've got to get your stuff out there. People have to know who you are. They have to see it.
And really, you're going to have to be good. All that stuff that we talked about earlier, you're going to have to complete all of that stuff first.
But the opportunities are there more so. Now, it's harder now because now everybody wants to do it. But it's also kind of easier because, once again, you can live here in Las Cruces. This is not a giant city. But you don't have to leave here and still be able to get your stuff everywhere because of, internet and the accessibility now versus 20 years ago. Like I said, 20 years ago, when I first started thinking about maybe when I grow up, I want to do art and everything, I was like, well, I'd have to leave El Paso. There's no way I can do El Paso. Nobody knows El Paso. Now, I can live there. Cost of living nice and easy. I like living there. Easy. And I can still send my stuff anywhere and contact anyone at any time. So the chances are there. Just, once again, got to put in the work first. Put in the work.
Yeah, because in the art field is very competitive. Like he was saying, 20 years ago, if you were an artist or wanted to be a freelance artist, and let's say you made some contacts in LA or New York, and you have an agent working for you, and you got a couple of gigs lined up here and there, a cover here or a book cover there, some illustrations here and there. So you're doing your job. That's when the world, or the United States in particular, was a lot smaller. With the advent of the internet, the artistry world has grown. Because you're not just competing against the guys here in America. You're competing against the Philippines. You're competing against China. And I swear, there's some guys over there that's doing some remarkable work. And they're going to be charging half of what you charge to be competitive. So the competition is there. Any other questions? No, she's shaking her head.
Huh?
She's nervous now.
I went to school for graphic design, so I know.
So you
Like how
understand.
freaking horrible it is.
It can be. And once again, the more you work and the more chances you take, the more that opportunity opens up. It
Yeah,
really will. It just
sure.
takes that one time being in the right place at the right time. I went to San Diego my first year, got nothing. I went my second year, got nothing. My third year, I finally ran into the guy who was the one I was talking about, my mentor. And he has so many contacts that when he finally started liking my stuff, he put me in touch with people. And all of a sudden, boom, here come the jobs.
Yeah.
Wizards of the Coast. Here comes these jobs. So it's just the more prepared you are, the more you put yourself, and it's the risk part, that's the scary part. The more you risk, the greater chance that eventually something's gonna land, something's gonna hit.
Yep. And most of mine is from, I got hired mostly as an inker. And I would find guys that I really liked inking, Kucha, Ivan Reese, David Finch. And I would just keep inking them. And then when I would find emails of these guys, hey, check this out. And a lot of times I got lucky, just like, oh man, that looks great. Hey, we got this position open. We need you to fill in ink here, or I knew inkers that were in the industry right now. They're like, dude, I'm way behind. I need 5 pages inked. Could you ink this for me? Which, is called ghosting. So I would ghost for them and ink their stuff for them, and they would pay me out of their pocket. So I don't have the notoriety that he does, but I'm still within that professional realm. The professional realm is huge. There's one guy probably selling his work on the art on the corner. He's professional. He's making money off his work. And then you got this guy here that's drag. But, we're all in the same boat. And we're all competing with each other, even if we don't know it.
And like I said, the opportunities, the more you risk, the better your chances. I grew up a huge fan, like I said, Dungeons and Dragons. My dream jobs were always Dungeons and Dragons, Iron Maiden, because I grew up loving the Iron Maiden covers, right?
You do realize this crowd has no idea who Iron Maiden is.
Iron Maiden?
Oh,
Yeah! Let's put on some. And Star Wars. I was the biggest Star Wars geek in the world. So those are my 3 dream jobs. I got 2 of them. I'm still working on Star Wars, hopefully. But Iron Maiden came to me simply by being in San Diego. I had my stuff for sale, and the guy came to me. I didn't know how. It never occurred to me that these rock bands, they need artists for these T-shirts and album covers. It never occurred to me that that's an entire market. I was looking. I want to draw superheroes. I want to draw Dungeons and Dragons and superheroes. The rep comes to me, sees my stuff, and says, "Oh, would you be interested?" And I'm like, "Oh, gee, just." I'm freaking out, and eventually I got to do an Iron Maiden T-shirt, which was like, once again, 3 dream jobs, got 2. Still need the Star Wars.
I think that's the hardest thing that you're going to have to realize or learn how to do is to take the good opportunity, because every once in a while these good opportunities just jump out at you, and you're just struggling artist. You're like, oh God, I'm just struggling along, and it's like, hey, would you like to do something for Iron Maiden? You have to learn what to do then, because you're like, ah! And you don't even know what to do. You're like, hell yeah, because that can screw yourself out of money, because it's like, oh, we got it. Oh, he'll do it cheap. So you got to learn how to say, well, I don't know. Let me check my schedule. Have you spoken with my agent? I mean, I'm being very sarcastic, but that is something that.
Talk to your people.
Yeah, I remember the first letter from a email I got from an editor at Marvel. You like, so and so. What the hell is it? Oh! Hey, honey, come see! And my wife's like, what the hell is this? Yeah, Marvel. That type of thing. Luckily, it was through email, because if I did it in person, I'd be like, oh, God. That's just still something you have to learn. Any other questions before we get out of here? I know some of you guys are probably tired, want to go spend more money. Lay at my table. I guess that's it. Also, if you come to my table, if you do want to have your stuff critiqued, pretty sure he has cards. To contact us directly. I'm local here in Las Cruces, so I don't mind giving you a full critique as much as I can. I mean, I'm not a superstar artist, and I'm not even going to try to put myself out there. I'm just a guy that's been doing it for a long time. And a lot of the stuff that I'm going to give you is a lot of the crap that I got hammered on, which, you know, we all need to learn. And we can go from there and hope for the best, see what you guys can do, especially this guy here that's still living at home. So, other than that,